Thank you again for being here. How we doing? How we doing? Thank you so much for being here for this moment. Marcus, I couldn't stop looking over at you and your family the whole time.
Same.
Because at the end of the day, like I mentioned, this isn't just about the folks who are up here on the stage. It's really about all the people we work with and who we work for, who we represent, and to your family. I mean, your dad is representing you very well. Very well. And I'm so proud to be able to be a part of this. Before we get into the conversation, I want to once again thank the festival for having us. I want to thank LaToya and her team for putting this together. I also want to thank the Everytown Community Safety Fund and all my colleagues at Moms Demand Action who are here today as well. Angela, Miranda, and Juanita, thank you guys for all your support. And I also want to thank my wife and son who are standing in the back for tolerating me for the last 2 years, talking about this film and how important it was. Thank you so much for your support. But of course, I want to give a proper introduction to my brilliant collaborators. And I want to start with the man of the hour, Marcus McAllister. Please put your hands together. What a man, what a dynamo. He's an icon in our field, as you can see. And with his personal story, what he's enabled us to do is really open the door. Open the door to have a conversation about the transformation that's possible when folks commit their lives to making real change in their communities. He's given us an opportunity to share his example with so many more people who see him as an example of what they want to achieve. So I thank you for that. Not only does he work with our program, and as we mentioned, he's worked with 55 of our 136 so far, he's also helped us identify each and every one of them. He also works with hundreds others in other capacities around the nation. So when he says he's wheels up all the time, he really is. And I appreciate you taking the time to be a part of this. Santana, what a visionary. Like we mentioned earlier, she's been award-winning, but at the end of the day, her whole career has been committed similarly to initiating change in other people, and I hope we have done what we think we've done with this film, but it could have only been done with you. So I want to thank you for that. So let's have a quick conversation about a national crisis. No, seriously, like, this is an issue that is deeply personal. It takes far more than 20 minutes to have this conversation. But we want to touch on a few things that are really important. And before I get into my questions, I want to just remind folks, every single day, gun violence impacts at least 120 people. That's 120 lives lost. Additionally, there are hundreds more who are shot and live on with the trauma of healing from those injuries, families that are helping their survivor children and husbands and boyfriends and girlfriends navigate a tumultuous journey. The majority of Americans, unfortunately, know this too well. 6 out of every 10 Americans either have been shot or have a friend or family member who has been. 60% of Americans. So that's why this is deeply personal, but such an urgent conversation that we have to have. We have supported a lot of folks. Unfortunately, despite the historic impact they've had, like I said earlier, they're in need of additional support, and hopefully we can talk about what that support can allow them to achieve. But I want to turn to our panel, and I want to really start with Marcus, because there was a term that was shared a couple times in the film. We gave a brief definition, but I know it flashed on the screen and was gone. But for those who are new to this work, Marcus, what is community-based violence intervention, or CVI as we call it, and how is it helping cities reduce gun violence?
Yeah, so initially, some of you might have heard the term just violence prevention. So we used the word violence prevention for many years before CVI came about. And with the last administration, we worked with the last administration and we came up with the term CVI to be an umbrella term. It's a comprehensive umbrella term that exists within street intervention, hospital work, reentry work, juvenile work, and survivor work. And it's like the umbrella term that times into the word CVI, but the piece of the word CVI, the intervention piece, is the piece that where the street intervention comes from, because we've had preventative work, but sometimes the preventative work doesn't get to the root of the bullets flying right now. And so if I want to just give you a straight up down to earth vision of what it is, it's credible messengers from the neighborhood who have changed their lives to intervene and try to intervene to interrupt violence at its cycle.
I think that's perfect. That's a perfect definition. And what I want all of you to also know is there are programs doing this work in your city. Whether they are grantees of Everytown or not, there are individuals who are similar to Marcus, who are using their lived experience, who are identifying, engaging with those at the highest risk of shooting and being shot, and they're trying to give them access to opportunity to change their lives and the experience they have within their own communities.
Yeah, Mike, because I just want to say, because, you know, empathy is everything. So when the people we hire and we train around the country, these are individuals themselves that change their lives. And it's easier to reach somebody when young people or even people out there know that you've been through something. We're not knocking anybody else that's intervened, but it's nothing like having somebody who has experience or been through some trials themselves to be the voice to say, let's put that gun down. It's not worth it.
Now, in the film, you mentioned your experience when you first re-entered your community, right? And now I want us to think about all the folks that I just and Marcus just described who are similar to him, right? So they've had a similar experience of being reintegrated, many of whom are now leading organizations, right? Now they're CEOs and they're program directors and they're program managers and they're managing staff. You're going out there and you're helping them do it effectively, right? Talk about some of the challenges that you're seeing when you're in the field, wheels up, and you're touching down. What are some of the issues these folks are sharing with you, and how are you helping them navigate those issues?
Well, I mean, the biggest issue is always funding, because sometimes, I mean, we're challenged to have funding. These individuals that are doing the work, I mean, they're taking time away from their families, so it's a paid job. It's not just something that you're just doing as a hobby. So we deal with getting this thing funded to have individuals. And another challenge is that being that it's so new, a lot of people in the country can't imagine us stopping violence unless you're the police, because they're not being educated. We're not against police whatsoever, but one of the challenges is getting community sometimes to buy in and understand that we try to put out fires before they become a forest fire. And that's where we come in at, and we don't necessarily need guns or bulletproof vests to do that. What we need is just to have good relationships. As I spoke about in the film, when you have good relationships, you're able to navigate those waters. The third thing that we face is a lot of times we have backgrounds. So people think that this has to be some type of lick or some type of come up, and that there's no way individuals with these backgrounds, and some themselves that might have went to jail in their past for a homicide. So it's really just like getting people to have a little more empathy, understand what they go through to get here, and have the support, because it's already hard enough doing the work when sometimes the community doesn't believe that we can't do the work because we've been incarcerated.
That's exactly right. And what we're also seeing, to your point about law enforcement, we also saw Dr. Woods from Louisville, Kentucky, who represents No More Red Dots, another one of our grantees, talk about it eloquently. He's mentioned, if we do what we're supposed to do, the police have less to do, right? It's not an either or, it's an add-on, right? We're to supplement what they do. We have a unique opportunity to leverage the experience of folks who, one, live in the communities when the violence is happening, have the trust and credibility of those that we need to engage, and can now get involved and prevent shootings from happening. But when they happen, of course, we need collaboration with government to ensure accountability. But we have an opportunity to prevent it from happening in the first place. And that's really what we're focused in on here. I want to now turn to Santana. Santana, you know, we've talked a little bit about your career. And one of the common threads of all the films that you've worked on is you are always working in a social justice space, and your ultimate goal is always to inspire change, right? To do this film, you were immersed in this space, immersed. I mentioned 2 years, 7 cities. I didn't mention the amount of people we interviewed, the number of organizations that were a part of this, that is hopefully in content to come, right? But you spoke with so many diverse people. Talk a little bit about how you approached this film, which was different than your prior ones. Your other films are long-form feature films. This was a short doc. What was the main difference here, and what were you thinking about as you were trying to pull this thing together with almost 100 different people you had interviewed?
Yeah, so I think for me, yes, this was different from all of my other films in the sense that this is a short form, but I think some of the main differences was that, number one, partnering with Everytown was amazing because the funding was there for me to do this, so I was able to solely focus on the creative. A lot of times as filmmakers, like, our heads are all over the place trying to get funding, trying to get support, trying to prove ourselves, and this was like just focus on telling the story. And for me, that was amazing because most of my career, I have been a producer instead of a director, and so for me to be able to direct and produce this and have full creative control this time, like in that way, it really allowed me, the partnership with Everytown really allowed me to just focus on telling the story. And I think my approach wasn't much different from what I do with my other films. Like, I believe in 100% authenticity. I think people can tell when you're, excuse my language, bullshitting. Like, people can tell when you're not authentic. They can tell when you're just here to extort their stories and use it for some sort of clout or anything like that. And for me, you know, that's not what this was. The same with all my other films. Like you said, I want to inspire change. I want to make an impact with my films. And so for me, it was really about going in this space and just letting them tell the story, like providing that space for them and letting them be the gas to making this story come to light. And I think having Marcus at the forefront of it was like our perfect decision because there are a lot of amazing, amazing people in this space and doing this work every day. But Marcus was somebody that had several different lenses, like being a returning citizen, being a pastor, and being a trainer in this work. And so really it wasn't about, my approach was really just to give him the space to say what he needed to say, give everyone the space to say what they need to say. And clearly they did it all for us.
Let's continue to talk about change, because you obviously had a goal as you were pulling this together. You spent a lot of time. We had a couple different cuts that we've worked through. What is the change you want to achieve with this film? What do you want our viewers to walk away with?
So one of the best ways that I learn is through film. I think that, you know, some people learn by reading, some people learn by being in it, some people learn by seeing it. And for me, I think being able to tell this story and not just show it, but like, or not just tell it, but show it. And I think for people to really start to see it and start to identify with these people and identify with the work that they're doing. Like Marcus said, I think it'll open up a world of trust in these communities. I think it'll open up a world of people figuring out what their part is in this work, because a lot of times people are wondering, what can we do? Like, there's a lot of people feel hopeless. There's nothing we can do about this. But there is something you can do about this. And it might not be what Marcus is doing. It might not be what Michael Sean is doing. It might not be what I'm doing. But there is a role in this. And now that you are here today watching this, maybe you didn't know anyone who does CBI before, but now you have access to Marcus. Now you can pick his brain. Now you can figure out how you can support. You have access to Michael Sean. You have access to me. I'm probably not the perfect person to talk to about that, but you have people here today. Dante is here, who was featured in the film. So Angela is here, who was featured in the film. So there are people around now that this conversation can start to actually make some movement in your lives. And like Michael Sean said at the beginning, we all know someone who has experienced gun violence, whether that's directly or indirectly. And now I think this film could be the first step to figuring out what is your part in this, and really just empathizing with the people who are on the ground every day doing this work.
I couldn't agree more. And I want to come back to you, Marcus, because the conversation Santana is encouraging all of us to have today and to continue when we go back to our communities is urgent.
Yes.
It is very urgent. In April of this year, more than $800 million in federal grants were rescinded in the middle of the night via email. 65 of the folks or organizations that were impacted were community-based violence intervention programs, just like the folks we just mentioned. 25 of those 65, or almost a third of those community-based groups, are my grantees. I've had programs that have shuttered in the last few months. I have programs who have cut half their staff, their programs, program participants. And what this will ultimately do is create more risk in the communities that we previously invested in because they've always had the need. Marcus, as you think about these programs, all of whom you've trained in some capacity, and the urgency of this moment, what's front of mind for you when you see this film, and how are you hoping this will activate our community to support them?
It's a great question. First, I understand that, and I'm highly disappointed in those groups that lost funding, and I understand that I believe that government definitely should support and have a role to play and be supportive of the work we do. But I also hope that this film, I hope that situations like this can allow the philanthropic community, the entertainment community, the sports community to see what we're doing and get involved as well. I don't just want to depend on the federal government. There's athletes out there that deal with gun violence, there's entertainers that deal with it, and I just wish that this film can touch them and that they can get more involved. And we have some involved, don't get me wrong, but I just think that this is a great opportunity of something that is powerful that can be poured back into their respective communities. And that's what I really hope comes out of this, that we get some new philanthropic people, funders, people with money that can look at this and say, you know, this is a good cause, because I don't want to put my hat in because, you know, you got doing the new administrations come in. We were on cloud 9 when we got the better, Build Back Better money and got going, and we were promised this money and people applied for it, and all of a sudden it was gone like that because of a new administration. We can't put ourselves in a situation like that again. We have to establish our own bread to be able to fund this work.
If I might add to that, voting matters.
Yes.
Voting matters, all right? There are a lot of ways you can get involved in this movement. There are a lot of ways you can support programs that are in your community right now, and there are a lot of ways we can ensure that we have the leaders we need that will invest in the issue areas that are most important to us and that impact us every single day. I want to thank you both for really being here today, and I want to give you one last question, because hopefully all of y'all saw the core theme of this film, which is really faith. It's having faith in ourselves, faith in our leaders, faith in our community members, returning citizens included, and having faith that when we come together, we can be the solution. Just like our folks down in Birmingham doing those night walks. You saw that t-shirt, "We are the solution," right? Just like Marcus just mentioned, we don't want to depend on the government, right? We are the solution. So turning to the both of y'all, really ruminating on the theme of faith. What gives the both of you faith that we're going to achieve a safer, more just nation for Black Americans?
I think for me, what gives me faith is seeing exactly what I saw while filming this, like being immersed in these type of spaces with these people who are doing this work. Like, it was my first time being at Cities United conference the last 2 years to film there. And being in this space with people who are dedicated to this is like, dang. People are out here every day risking their lives doing this and utilizing their expertise and their experience to make change. And seeing that is the most basic form and the most authentic form of being like, this is actually working, and there are people actually doing it. And so again, you guys might not know these people just yet, but these people are in your city, and you can get to know these people, and you can get involved in whatever ways you need to get involved. But to see the work being done, to see the dedication, to hear the dedication as we heard in the film, like, that is what's showing me this is really working. And then also, of course, the work that Everytown is doing, knowing we have big organizations like that that are supporting these community organizations, knowing that there are bigger folks out there going to the White House and stuff and making it work. And I think we've talked about on this panel so far that, like, yes, the police are important, yes, voting is important, but these are people in your own community. These are your brothers, your sisters that are like doing this work. How can you not support that? How can you not have faith that if regular people are doing this work and it's working, how can you not have faith that it'll continue to work?
Amen. Yeah, well, faith is everything to me. Faith means so much to me. And, you know, I've been in the space a long time, going on 23 years. And I've seen progress. So my lens is, I see nothing but progress. And so I'm going to continue to have faith because I see us growing and things are happening compared to 22 years ago when we were like isolated, small group doing it in Chicago. There's scripture in the Bible that says faith is the substance of things hoped for. Now, if you ever heard somebody in the neighborhood, you ever said something to somebody and you say, man, well, I hope they come back, and somebody will say to them, man, don't hope, as if hope is a bad thing. If you look up the definition of hope, it means to expect. So when I hope, I expect it to happen. So I have a lot of hope because I expect us to continue to get better, to continue to get these numbers down, because the people that are doing it have all the hope in the world. Because they come out of situations. That's why I said in the film that my biggest part of doing this work is to see the change it has on the staff. I'm one of many people that got in this work, and this work changed their life first, and then they can go change somebody else's life because they had hope that they could stick with this. I was laid off about 7 times doing this work. And my wife right here in the front row, she'd be like, and I knew this was meant for me, and I say, you know what, I'm gonna wait until the funding comes back in, because I had hope that this was the thing that I needed to do. I had purpose and passion. So I have a lot of faith, and I have a lot of faith in those that came to support tonight, because I know you'll go back to your respective cities and look up and see what CVIs are in your own backyard. It don't matter what city. If I talk to you after this, I guarantee you most of your cities, I can tell you the groups that are operating in your respective cities. And that in itself brings a lot of faith to me, because we're growing across this country, and we're not gonna allow, like I said, before there was federal money, we never had federal money, never. So those of us that have been in the work 20 plus years, the last 4 years of getting federal money, that was a new thing. But prior to that, we galvanized, we organized, we went to the states, we went to the counties, we went to our local aldermen, our local senators, and we said this was something that we wanted, and we did it for inside the churches, outside the churches, and so I have faith that we'll continue to do that, and we won't be, as much as I'm upset about the layoff of certain people, I would not have a woe is me mentality. Yes. I will go forward and say, you know what, we're gonna get back to grassroots organizing. I see my brother Angelo in here, who's an activist and an organizer, and we're gonna just put the pedal to the metal and put heat to it, because we got to keep this thing funded. We got to have faith, and I'll just leave it at that.
Amen.
Perfect. Well, I have faith in all of you.
Yes.
I got faith in every single person that is here right now. And I'm going to encourage you to continue this conversation, to continue to learn about what's happening in your community and across the nation. Everytown.org/CSF. Please find out more about our program. We have an interactive map. You can find your city. You can find the programs that are working in it across the 69 that we worked in. You'll also be able to grab a pamphlet with additional information that's going to be available, as well as the QR code if you missed it. But thank you so much again. If there are any questions, I guess we can entertain them in the last 5 minutes. Otherwise, thank you again, and thank you. We have a hand? Yeah, let's pass the mic. Yeah.
All right, passing the mic. Thank you so much. It's not so much a question as a thank you. I live on Staten Island. I worked for many years with a council member who fought to bring cure violence to Staten Island. If you are familiar with New York City, you know that Staten Island demographics don't instantly look like it needs a cure violence, but we have pockets of area with entrenched poverty, with violence, that were pockets of extreme gun violence that had a higher rate than the rest of the city. But despite that, it was extremely difficult to get the program, but we finally did it. It was funded with city council dollars, not with federal funding. I guess they did get some federal eventually, but it's hosted by the Central Family Life Center on Staten Island. So thank you so much. It's so important that we go back to the grassroots funding for these programs. So thank you.
I love that. Can I just say, sister, I appreciate that. You know, I worked with Central Family Life, True to Life, Staten Island. I helped get that program launched many years ago, and their executive director right now is in Chicago. We have an academy where we're pouring into CVI leaders across the country. I serve as the dean of students for CVI LA. Look at that. Somebody got his GED in jail. Now he's the dean of students at the University of Chicago. God is good. So I thank you for saying that because I mess with True to Life is there. Iron Mike, he's the director of that program. Thank you, ma'am.
I have a question. Have you been involved in our Baltimore programs?
Yes, Dante, who was in the film back there, I helped launch the Safe Streets. It initially started in Baltimore. Now they're growing in other things. But Dante's here. He's one of the founders of Safe Streets back there himself doing the work. He was in the film. So we love Baltimore. Is definitely a city that we work in. Yes, ma'am.
I'll be honest with you, if you were to just throw out some cities, we're probably going to name them right now because we're probably actively working with them. Baltimore has been a part of our grant program since we launched the Safe Streets program, but like I mentioned, so many others. So thank you again for being here. Please take the time to explore our website, find other groups that you're interested in, and please feel free to reach out to us. We would love to hear from you. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.